On the screen, you will see wooden vessels. Choose the vessel that calls to you, then go to the timestamps in the description box below. This is a timeless reading. It is also a general reading, so it is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all. But as with all readings, chances are there's some pretty important information in there for everyone. So have fun with this. Hello, vessel number 1. Those of you who chose this very simple yet elegant little box. And look at here. It's a pine cone as a little extra added bonus. So we'll set that right up there. So we're going to do 2 layouts to have some conversation with your ancestor. The first layout is to get to know a bit about your ancestor. That will be with this set of cards. And the second is to understand why your ancestor is reaching out to you, why you were called to listen to this specific reading. That will be done with this set. Start out with this small deck. And the first question here is, to make it easier, we want to make sure that we have a he or a she to work with, or I do. Makes it a lot easier for the reading. So that's the first thing that we want to know, is which ancestor is coming forward right now, male or female. Oh, wow. So that's pretty clear. We have first the sun, then we have the tower, and then we have the man. So we know that your ancestor is male. And for this message here that goes with these 3 cards, he's extremely happy that you're taking the steps to meet him. Even if it's just for this reading, even for the short period of time you will be listening to this reading. He's quite pleased. This is a good thing. So the second thing that we need to know is whether your ancestor is from your mother's or father's side of the family. So we have the mountain. We have the bouquet, which, by the way, is showing a Queen of Spades. So as long as the 3rd card doesn't give us anything different, we're looking at your mother's side. And we have the Rider. So your ancestor comes from your mother's side of the family. And the message that he's giving with the mountain, the bouquet, and the Rider, he says there's been some kind of a blockage or interference that has kept you from getting his invitation or his assistance. But since you're taking action now, he's going to be able to communicate with you. So third, it's kind of nice to know, or it would be kind of nice to know, what your ancestor looks like. So we have the fish, and no, he is not going to look like a fish. At least we don't think so. We have the coffin, and we have the cross. So from these 3 cards, we can say that your ancestor is blue-eyed. He is kind of flashy, enjoying expensive things, but he's well-groomed and well-manicured. He is white-haired, and that is showing from the mountain, as well as being either large as life or just largely built, and quite imposing. People look at him and they're like, oh, wow, and almost demanding instant respect. He also wears kind of like shaman-like or priestly-like robes. So with that description, and since these readings cannot fit everyone, you need to take what you can from these readings and, whatever resonates, and let everything else go. But everyone is going to have a different image in their mind. They will build a picture of this ancestor in their mind. Not one single one is going to be alike. So use that imagery to create the perfect image of your ancestor and work with that. Now, I want to ask him about his personality, but I don't want him to give what he believes his personality is. I want him to give us information about how other people would describe his personality, because we're always biased and probably really hard on ourselves. So by doing it in this manner, we're giving him the opportunity to be a little less self-conscious about sharing this information with us. So we're using the sun, the mountain, and the fish for this question. And the sun says that he's optimistic and radiant and warm and bright and has a glowing personality. He's lively, he's happy, he loves the limelight, which is probably why he is very flashy. And he radiates joy. He's successful. He has confidence. He's a leader. He's a mover. He's a shaker. And definitely somebody who lights up a room. His energy is contagious, and he has a lot of influence. Like I said, he's imposing. People look at him and kind of get this awe-like feeling. He's also an extreme charismatic extrovert. No shyness in this one. He also, according to the mountain, lives off the grid. And I'm not going to say hermit-like. He's just off the grid and in solitude unless needed. He enjoys that. Sometimes, according to the fish, he can be sensitive and maybe a bit moody. And when you look at these 3 cards, he's saying that he is so very happy that you have found the path over the mountain, which is obstacles, the blockage that he was talking about, so that you can have a valuable and enriching relationship. And excuse me, I just realized I have not lit the candles for your reading. Since we're talking about the sun, we're going to give a little bit of fire here to the reading. Okay, so the next question that I want to ask him for you is approximately what time period was he alive? And for this, we're using the tower, the bouquet, and the coffin. Now, he's saying that it was a time of authority and restriction and regulations. Yet still, for some of them, it was a time of happiness and beauty, a time when art was a huge thing, perhaps coming out of the Dark Ages and going into the Renaissance. And despite, this was a dark time, obviously, with everything being controlled, but beauty still abounded, despite having a high death toll of people due to whatever was going on at the time. Could have been war, could have been, it's really hard to say, but there was a high death toll. But people always find a way. So during this time, where did your ancestor live? And he's using the man, the rider, and the cross for this. And he says he was a traveler. And he went from village to village, staying with those who had similar beliefs to his. Now, we don't really know if this is spiritual beliefs or if this is beliefs about whatever regime was taking place. If he was taking around a message, trying to get people to stand up and fight, or if he was offering solace to those who had lost someone, or we don't know. However, he was a traveler, and it doesn't say that he was a traveling preacher. It just says he's a traveler. So now I'd like to ask him, how did he pass on? He's using the sun, the bouquet, and the cross for this. And he says he was burned in a field of flowers for his beliefs. So again, not really sure whether the beliefs were spiritual, religious, or against whatever power was ruling at the time. We don't know that, and he's really not sharing it there. But we can ask him what he considered to be his primary occupation. And he's using the man, the bouquet, and the fish for this. So he's saying he was helping people, bringing a little happiness into their life, delivering things they needed like food, money, clothing, and so on, and also something to believe in and hope for. So he would also bring them hope, perhaps even messages from other villages. So he was quite the Good Samaritan, a very giving and loving kind of person, someone who was willing to put himself out there for other people and take a chance traveling village to village, no matter how dangerous it happened to be. So what do you and your ancestor have in common? And we're using the cards, the sun, the fish, the man, and the cross for this. So he's saying optimism and independence and a strong belief in energy, how energy works, and that's a part of the optimism, the positive energy, keeping your vibration up and exposing truth and knowing that you are able to be abundant in all ways. It does not have to be monetarily. Abundance is many things. So what he was giving to the people as a traveler, he brought them hope. He brought them food, clothing. He brought them messages from other people. He was giving them abundance, and it didn't necessarily have to be money, but they felt rich because, number one, they were still alive. Number two, they knew that there were people there who cared about them and who were willing to fight for them. And in return, they would do the same for other people. They would share what they received from him with others, so no one went without. And for some of you, what you have in common with your ancestor is that you may be extremely lucky, business savvy, and be a long-term goal setter and achiever. So in a more practical sense, more physical world sense versus the energy and abundance and truth. Could be a mix of both as well. So I'm now asking your ancestor if he has anything else to share with you before I pick up these cards and lay out the second set. So we are using the tower, the coffin, the mountain, and the rider. So for some, he's saying with the tower that you need to be more organized and structured in your spiritual practice to reach new spiritual heights and understanding. And this can bring about a spiritual rebirth and awakening. Many of you may have already gone through this or may be going through this. He's saying that the path may not be an easy one and that you may be blocking your spiritual goals somehow, or you may be detached from your higher self, or even too inhibited, not able to relax due to being too self-conscious or mentally restrained. But he can help, and he will help through communication with you. So that's getting to know your ancestor a little bit as to who he is. Now we're going to take a look at why he has come forth at this time for you, why you were urged to watch this particular reading with him. So the first thing that I'm going to ask is, what legacy has been handed down to you from your ancestors? So we have the garden. We have the stork. And we have the stars. So the legacy, he says you're meant to be in the public eye, creating change, which is what the stork is, helping humanity evolve, and that this is your destiny. And if you go back to what he was like, he had a very similar destiny as a traveler and doing things for people to help them survive. The legacy has kind of evolved now, apparently, and you're meant to be known by people for creating change for humanity and to help humanity evolve. And you're going to be put into that position no matter what, because it is your destiny. So now, why is your ancestor present with you right now? Why did he come forward now? So we have the scythe. We have the coffin. And we have the letter. So he says he is here to aid you in cutting ties or whatever may be posing a danger to your spiritual well-being, helping you through the spiritual rebirth and your awakening, as we talked about previously, and to help you let go and let God or source, basically to surrender, so the universe can take care of any concerns and you can get on with your destined work. So what area of your life is your ancestor here to help with? And I know this may sound like kind of the same question, but this is telling you why you and he are meeting specifically, okay? Whereas What area of your life is he here to help with? That can be a lesser thing, or maybe not. Let's see what he says. So we have the woman, we have the birds, and we have the crossroads. So he says that he's here to help you ground and quiet your mind, and to help you decide which spiritual direction you would like to go. So in doing the grounding, you can do earthing, which is standing on the ground with bare feet, if the weather allows, so that you can be grounded and the electrical impulses from the earth can go up through your body. Or you can imagine yourself, and I do believe it's easier if you're actually standing on the earth with no shoes on, to imagine your feet growing roots like a tree and going down into the earth. And apparently, since he's here to help you decide which spiritual direction to go, your destiny is to help humanity evolve and change. But there are many, many different ways to do that. And each of you is going to have a different image of what that is. So your ancestor is here to help you figure out which one of those or what specific way you can do that. So now we'd like to know how long your ancestor has been with you. And for this, we are using the garden, the scythe, and the woman card. And he's saying he's been with you, and this is a great way to put it. He's been with you since the event that released you from your mother. And for some, this could be when you were born, and for others, it might have been when you left home. So when you're mentally speaking to your ancestor, you may get an image in your head as to which possibility that is. Was it at birth, or was it when you left home? In other words, at some point, the tie with your mother was severed. You came and you moved on. You moved out into the world. Okay, so again, this could be when they cut the umbilical cord. This could be when you turned 18 or whatever age you were when you left home. Now, it might be nice also to know, since not all of us are as practiced in our intuition as we could be, what kind of signs will your ancestor give you to let you know that he's close, he's in the room, he's by you, he's listening? And for this, we're using the stork, the coffin, and the birds. So he's saying he's giving you a few physical things here. So he's saying when your legs feel restless and you can't sit still. So think of the stork's legs, how long they are. And he says, then you must stop. Stop whatever you're doing. Just stop. And that means stopping your mind chatter and listening. So you'll feel the restless legs, and you might feel that at the same time that you feel like your brain is just going 100 miles per hour. And he's saying stop, just stop. When you feel those restless legs and you feel your brain going 100 miles per hour, stop and listen, because that will be coming from him. Remember, he's a very energetic individual, and he knows how to use that energy. So he can put that energy within you in certain ways, and he can make your mind go all crazy and overwhelmed. And I'm not saying he's putting thoughts in there, like bad thoughts or anything, because that does not happen. He may be interrupting you when your own mind is doing that all by itself. But at any rate, when you feel the restless legs, you stop, and he wants you to listen, because that's when he will give you thoughts that at first you may think are your own. But if you consider how you think or speak, if they are different than what you're hearing, you know that it has to be him. So you might also want to know what the best way to communicate with him is. And we're using the star, the letter, and the crossroads. So he's saying the guidance that you get from him will come in words in more than one way, okay? So this could be, where the words are concerned, this could be billboards, this could be license plates, this could be memes, words in books, things people say, lines in movies, lines in songs. There's a lot of different ways to share words. And they might be words that come into your head too, very randomly. And of course, if you yourself would like to communicate with your ancestor words, you just speak it out loud, or even inside your head. He will hear you. Now I'm going to ask this next question. What other responsibilities does your ancestor have? And I'm asking this because oftentimes when we are in need of something, we don't take into consideration that those in spirit might have other responsibilities and cannot respond to us immediately. We might think, oh no, we lost our connection, and oh no, they're not answering right now. So we're going to ask, what other responsibilities does your ancestor have? And for this, we're using the garden, the coffin, and the crossroads. And he's saying his social engagements are complete. And this is his decision. So he's not going to be taking on anything except for you. It's all about you. Because, again, he's a humanitarian. It's all about humans. It's all about the evolutionary change of humans. And he wants to still be a part of that with you to make that happen in a very positive way. So something you might be curious about is, you know that he said that, words will be how he communicates with you and how you can communicate with him. But how will you know that you've understood any messages that he has shared with you? And for this, we're using the star, the coffin, and the woman. And he says, you will have clarity. Knowing something is final through your intuition, through your gut feeling. You'll just know. There won't be any question. It'll be a very strong feeling for you. And notice that here we have the woman, and the woman is known for her intuition. The man is known mostly for his gut feeling. They don't really call it intuition with men. At least they didn't. Maybe they do now. But either way, intuition is a huge thing here. And you'll just know. You'll know it's right. It'll be very similar to knowing exactly what time your favorite show is on television. You just know. And it's not going to change, and you know that. So the last question that we're going to ask is if your ancestor has anything that he would like to add to this reading before the reading ends. So for this, we're using the stork, the scythe, the birds, and the letter. So he's saying that evolving and changing can be a very painful process, or it can be a very exciting one. He's suggesting getting whatever you experience out of your head and down on paper. So, in essence, he's telling you to journal as you go through these changes, whether they be painful or exciting, as you begin going through the process of helping other people change. And sometimes this begins with helping yourself first. So he's here to help you make a determination on how you would like to go about helping humanity change and evolve, because it is your destiny. He's here to help you do that. And as you go through the process, it's probably a really good idea to make sure that you record it somehow. And, for some people that don't care to write, then record it. Actually use your phone to record it and, transcribe it into something later. Type it on the computer. Do something. Just make sure that you have record of what it is that you're doing. So that's it, vessel number 1. That was your ancestor coming forth for you. And again, take what resonates with you and just disregard the rest. I'm sending you all love and light. Take care. Okay, vessel number 2, people. It's a miniature wooden mortar and pestle. Welcome. So we're going to do 2 layouts to have some conversation with your ancestor. The first layout with this set of cards here, the small set, will be to get to know your ancestor a bit. And the second, the larger size cards, will be used to understand why your ancestor is reaching out right now, why you felt the need to watch this reading. Each of these has 9 cards, and that's what we'll be using to ask your ancestor some very pertinent questions. So let's get going. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to ask is whether your ancestor is male or female. This is for the purpose for you to know, so eventually you can get an image of your ancestor in your mind, but also makes it easier for me to do the reading for you, knowing he or she, or being able to say he or she. So we have the tree, we have the book, and we have the sun. So with these 3 cards, your ancestor is the tree. And they're not giving the information yet, but it will be exposed. You will, before this reading is over, know whether your ancestor is male or female, but right now they're not sharing that information. So I'm going to ask, is your ancestor from your mother or father's side of the family? So we have the fox, we have the moon, and we have the dog. So right now, it appears that your ancestor is wearing a mask, not showing you their face, because they don't wish to be recognized. They don't wish you to be able to recognize them. Maybe it's kind of a test to determine if you don't know what they look like and you don't know if your ancestor is male or female, are you still willing to be loyal to the information that he or she is going to share here? That is something that you have to decide in your mind, which may or may not determine how the rest of this reading goes for you. But he or she may also be saying that he's wearing the mask, not allowing you to recognize who he or she is, but regardless of that, he or she is very loyal to you. So now we're going to ask if your ancestor can please tell you what they look like. So we have the rider, we have the ship, and we have the crossroads. And here we have the Queen of Diamonds. So your ancestor has now said that she is a she. And she did tell you up here that, it would be exposed. The information wouldn't be hidden forever, but she is a she. So that's helpful to know. So we know we have a woman here, and she is short. She has a great smile, green or hazel eyes, and she's from Irish descent. She's also an elder. So depending on the culture, an elder can be someone in their 50s. An elder can be someone who is 90. This is something where the physical description is concerned. All of you who are watching this reading who chose this second vessel, all of you are going to have a different image in your mind as to what your ancestor looks like using these particular descriptive words. So no two of you are going to have the same mental image in your mind of what this ancestor looks like. They are unique to you. Even if some of the information that you are being given is general to all of you, this is something that's going to be very unique to you. If you were each to sit down and draw a picture of your ancestor, the one that comes into your mind, not one of them would look the same. So this ancestor is yours and yours alone. So I'm also going to ask your ancestor how other people would describe their personality. And I don't want to ask your ancestor how they would describe their personality, because we're hard on ourselves, more so than other people would be. But other people are probably a bit more honest about the personality of another person, more so than you are about yourself. The cards that we're using for this are the tree, the fox, and the rider. So other people would say that, your ancestor is grounded, natural and holistic minded, charismatic, definitely likes to hold the reins, communicative, outgoing, and ambitious. He also can be sly and stealthy when need be. And again, communicative. Very much enjoys sharing information with other people. So now, to get to know a little bit more about your ancestor, I'm asking approximately what time period was he alive? And for this, we're using the book, the moon, and the ship. And again, we have hidden information here. He's saying the information is hidden due to what he did for work, and because he cannot be recognized from the journey from that lifetime. And I think what he's saying is if she told you what time period she lived and exactly what she looked like and exactly what she did, then we might be able to go back in the history books and say, that's her. So she doesn't feel that it would be in your best interest to know that. So she's not sharing that information. So moving on, I'm going to ask her where she lived, if she can share that information. So we're using the sun, the dog, and the crossroads. She's telling us that she lived someplace warm, tropical, a place that felt like an old friend, a place that she was attached to. And I'm assuming that means, I'm hearing that she has lived in more than one life, okay? But she has chosen, again, not to reveal where that was to us. It's something that she just cannot do without giving us too much information. So we're going to ask her if she can tell us how she passed on. And for this, we're going to use the tree, the moon, and the ways. So she's saying here that she required time, care, and healing. But she didn't recognize that she was ill. And actually, that's not totally true. She chose to ignore the fact that she was ill. And she chose not to take the time for the care and healing that she actually needed. She did not want other people to know or to see that she was ill. Not necessarily out of pride. I don't get that. I feel as though whatever she did, if someone knew she was ill, it would put her in danger, perhaps, leave her vulnerable somehow. So she preferred to do things this way, chose to do things this way. So I'm going to ask, even though there's a lot of hidden things here, I'm going to ask her, what did she feel like her primary occupation was, if she can share? And for this, we're using the sun, the dog, and the ways. And she's saying that she had an extremely successful career in communication. And it wasn't just communication in one direction. It seems as though it was communication in many different ways. So maybe she took the sides of both. If there were sides to something, maybe she was able to communicate with both sides. We'll say that. Just a guess there. All right, so now a little more general, we want to know what you and your ancestor have in common. And for that, we're using the tree, the sun, the rider, and the ways. So your ancestor is saying what you have in common is deep roots, great energy, and the ability to have great success. Many thoughts and ideas, the need for communication or the ability to communicate well, and free will. You choose freedom every time. And the last thing that we're going to ask your ancestor for this layout here is if they have anything to add before I move on to laying out the second set of cards. And for this, we're using the book, the fox, the ship, dog. So your ancestor is saying perhaps where you're going is a bit of a mystery. And you feel like maybe you're doing something wrong. You're going in the wrong direction. That what you've chosen the wrong career, or just you really don't know what it is that you want to do. You have an inkling, but maybe you're wrong. Maybe that wouldn't be the right way to go. But you just need to think out of the box. She wants you to know that you're being supported and that you're being helped all along the way. You have a team, and this ancestor is part of that team. So you're not doing any of this alone, and you're not doing it at random. So let's move on now to see what has brought you and your ancestor together today. Why you felt the need to watch this video and why your ancestor wished to come forward for you at this time. So I'm going to start by asking, what legacy has been handed down to you? So we have the scythe. We have the rider. And we have the tree. So your ancestor is saying here, the legacy is healing through communication with your ancestors. So by either speaking, perhaps publicly, or writing a blog, or doing a vlog, or any kind of public speaking, anything that involves healing. Perhaps you are a counselor, or could be a counselor. Perhaps you are an energy healer. There are many different kinds of healing. And this healing is done through some kind of communication with your ancestors. That's the legacy. That's what they have done. So that is what's being passed down to you. So why has your ancestor come to you now over this, for this particular legacy, and at this time? Why are they with you right now? We have the fish. We have the woman. And we have the bouquet. So your ancestor has come to help you free yourself and to open up spiritually. She wants to help you bring out your intuition even more than it is. And if your intuition is not as strong as you would like it to be, to help you find that ability. And that is the invitation being offered to you today. So what area of your life is your ancestor here to help with? And this may be very similar, or may seem very similar to the question about why they are with you right now. But the area could be something more specific than the whole reason here. In this case, with the invitation to help you open yourself up more spiritually and freely, and to bring forth your intuition. Let's see what she has to say. So we have the snake. We have the anchor. And we have the mice. So she says she's here to help you with the complications, the twists and turns of life, basically, and to help you stabilize yourself, figure out where to drop your anchor, so to speak, so that you can get more grounded in what your healing will entail. And she's doing this because it can be a very frustrating situation, and she wants to make sure that, and she's being funny here, that you don't lose your cool. You keep your zen. She doesn't want you to lose your zen. Now I'm going to ask how long this ancestor has been with you. We know that she's with you right now, but how long has she actually been with you where you have not been aware of her? Or maybe you have been aware of her, but Maybe it's felt like she's always been there. So for this, we're going to use the scythe, the fish, and the snake. So she's saying, since the cord was cut and you became independent, starting on your extremely windy path. So you may not have had the easiest life. So she's either saying that she's been with you since birth, since the cord was cut, or she's saying that she's been with you since you cut ties with your mother, your father, whoever's home you were leaving at the time you became independent, at the time that you left home. So maybe that was your mom and dad. Whoever that was, that is how long she's been with you, either from birth or from the point you left home and went out on your own to start exploring your life. Apparently it's been a very, quite the road traveled so far. And she's recognizing that for you. Now, one of the things that you might want to know is what types of signs is your ancestor going to use to let you know that they're close by, that they're in the room, that they're listening to you. And for this, we are using the rider, the woman, and the anchor. And she's saying thoughts and messages that you intuitively feel, kind of like goosebumps or like butterflies in the stomach, that kind of a feeling. And those kinds of feelings tend to make you like stop in your place. And, you register that feeling. Oh, I've got goosebumps. I mean, you even say it out loud, or, oh, I've got butterflies in my stomach. It's something that you notice, something that makes you pause for just a moment. And that makes you feel grounded. It brings you to a point of just that momentary pause. And that is what she will use to make you pause. At that point, you need to listen or examine your body or think about what it was that you were thinking about, the thoughts that you had as you were getting those goosebumps, because those thoughts might be from her. It might be helpful also to know how your ancestor is going to communicate with you. And we do have, as she said, thoughts and messages that give you goosebumps. That's probably her, but maybe a little more specifically, we're using the tree, the bouquet, and the mice. So maybe specifically, she's saying, your family. This is the ancestor card. So your family, so there's already a connection. But she's going to communicate with you mostly through your senses. So this means that you need to slow down. And again, the goosebumps, butterflies in the stomach, I can't think of anything else for there, but you get the understanding there. That will make you slow down, make you stop. But you need to slow down. It might also help to simplify your life a little bit if you're extremely stressed, or if you're going 100 miles an hour all the time, here, there, zip, zip. You need to maybe slow down and stop scattering or draining all of your energies. If you're doing that, it's going to be difficult for your ancestor to ever reach you, because you'll never have calm time. You're always go, 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 go. So to be able to have a good relationship with your ancestor, you need to be able to hear them. So this is what she's saying. She will communicate through your senses. So you may smell something at some point. You may see something, a color, even something as simple as a billboard or a license plate that really stands out to you. You may taste something, even though you haven't eaten anything. You may, using all of your senses, think about it. Be aware of those things that really stand out where your senses are concerned, and that's how your ancestor will communicate. And again, the goosebumps and butterflies in the stomach are senses as well. It's something you feel. So another thing that is good to know is, what other responsibilities does your ancestor have? And I ask this for you because oftentimes when we are asking for guidance, asking for help from our spirit teams, we don't consider that they might have other responsibilities. And we worry, I guess you could say, when no answer is forthcoming as quickly as what we expect it to come. And it might give us feelings of, oh, geez, did I lose my connection? Or, was I ever really communicating at all? Our human brain does a lot of odd things when it comes to things like that. So I'm asking, what other responsibilities does your ancestor have? And we're using the scythe, the woman, and the mice. And what she's saying is that she has currently cut all ties to be with you, as it's going to be quite the slow process. So apparently there's a great deal to do, and she's not going to rush you through it. So she wants to make sure that her full attention is on you. Another thing I thought you might like to know is, how will you know that you have understood the messages that your ancestor is giving to you? And for that, we're using the tree, the woman, and the snake. So she's saying, this is your ancestor. And sometimes, intuitively, something's going to strike you. Something you didn't expect. You might hear intuitively her say, so, how's life today? Or, how you feeling? Or, is that really what you should be doing? Or maybe you'll be thinking about something specifically and, she might pop in another idea. Something else will strike you. And it's going to be on an intuitive level, again, through your senses. So you really need to pay attention to what senses that she is doing for you, that she's using. And it might end up being, as time goes on, it might be one sense that you are very strong in. But a lot of times they really like us to develop in more ways than one. So it's just a thought that maybe that will be, but maybe not. The last thing that we're going to ask is if she has anything else that she would like to share before we close out this reading. And for this, we're using the rider, the fish, the anchor, and the bouquet. She's saying that communication will flow easily if you ground yourself through earthing, and that is standing on the earth in bare feet, weather allowing, obviously. One thing I've actually thought about doing is getting a box that has some, and pouring some soil into it. Not a good idea if you have a cat, but pouring some soil into it, and when I feel the need to touch the earth or something that came from the earth, to stand in that box and or mess with it with your hands. That would also be a way of earthing. It's not quite the same as standing on the earth, but if the weather is too cold, it is one way to do it. And she wants you to, when you are doing all of this, she wants you to stop and smell the roses. Take time. Stop this speedy movement, this scattering, this, if that's the way that your life is. You need to be able to stop and smell the roses. Again, using your senses, your intuition, making sure you're grounded enough for her to be able to contact you, to communicate with you. So that is your reading from your ancestor. Take what resonates with you and disregard the rest. I do hope that you've connected. Sending love and light. Take care. Welcome, Vessel 3. Those of you who chose this beautiful, ornately carved vessel. So we are going to do 2 layouts, each with 9 cards, to have some conversation with your ancestor. The first layout with the little cards here will be to get to know your ancestor a little bit. And the second 9 layout will be so that you can understand why your ancestor is reaching out to you. Why perhaps you chose to be here for this reading. So let's get started. So the first question that I'm going to ask your ancestor is whether they are male or female. And this is done so that, number 1, I can have an easier time with the reading by saying he or she when needed, and so that you can get a mental image in your mind of this ancestor when you get a bit more description, which you will get in the reading. So, is your ancestor male or female? We have the rider. We have the stork. And we have the tree. And the stork shows the Queen of Hearts here. That is telling us that your ancestor is letting you know that she is a she. And she's also telling you with these 3 cards that the messages that she brings to you are going to help you make good changes to your life, and they'll help you grow. So I'm also going to ask your ancestor if she comes from the maternal or paternal side of the family, your father or your mother's side. And we have the lily, the birds, and the stars. So the lily is showing the King of Spades. So she's saying she comes from your father's side. She's also saying with these 3 cards that she's family. And she's kind of already shared that because the tree is the ancestor card. But she's saying she's family, someone who gives support, and somebody who can tell when you're feeling very scattered. And she will be your guiding star. So now it would be nice to get a mental image here. You know she's female, but to get a mental image, it would be nice if you knew somewhat what she looks like. So I'm asking your ancestor to please describe what she looks like. We have the ways. We have the whip. And we have the clover. So she's saying that she's short, that she has a great smile, she has green or hazel eyes, she's an elder, and she's Irish. So even though this is a general reading, each one of you who chose Vessel 3, with that description, you're going to have, each one of you is going to have a different image come into their mind with that description as to what the ancestor looks like, what your ancestor looks like. If you were to all sit in a row and draw this ancestor using the description, not one of them would be the same. So despite the fact it's a general reading, this is your ancestor. The image that you bring into your mind, the image that she's projecting into your mind, she's your ancestor and yours alone. Now I'm going to ask her how other people would describe her personality or describe her. If you were to ask someone, what was my ancestor like? What was she like? And I do this way because we don't always know what we're like. Other people see a lot more than we see about ourselves. So I'm asking her as though there were someone else there. If I could, I would ask that person, what was she like? So for that, we're using the rider, the lily, and the ways. So we have someone who is charismatic, someone who likes to hold the reins, is communicative, very active, very outgoing, wise, ambitious. She's well dressed, which probably would go under the what she looked like. Add that into that. She's attractive. She's fit. Okay, so again, into that. So we'll go back in a minute. She's mature, which would be the elder. She's a gentle person. She's calm. She's balanced. She's wise. She's experienced. She's relaxed. She's restrained. She's family-oriented. She's conservative, really enjoys family traditions. She's peaceful. She's independent. And she does like to take the road less traveled. Tends to stay neutral and oftentimes will mediate for others. So back to the what she looks like, you can add in she's short, she has a great smile, green or hazel eyes, she's an elder, she's of Irish descent, she's well dressed, she's attractive, she's fit. You can add those in to your mental image there. So now it would be nice to know if she can tell us approximately what time period she was alive. That might give us a little historical context here. So we have the stork, the birds, and the whip. She's saying it was a time of change, a time of evolution for humankind. It was a time when people were uneasy, where they were nervous and or, depending on the person, excited, because there were many expectations, a lot of speculation about things, and a lot of conjecture about things, because there was a lot of discord and struggle, which usually comes with the evolution. There's a lot of discord and struggle. So those are the times that she lived in. Can't really get a historical context myself, but something may come to you. So I'm asking her for maybe a little bit more here, wondering, where did she live? Where did your ancestor live? And we're using the tree, the star, and the clover for this. And she's saying that she lived underground, in underground tunnels connected together, and that it was very simple living. So apparently this time period, there was enough struggle and strife here that she was one of the ones apparently that had to stay hidden. So they lived in underground tunnels, connected underground tunnels. So they, weren't like, she wasn't like all alone, isolated. They were connected tunnels. So now I will ask her, how did she pass on? She has rider, birds, and clover. And she's saying she received a message, some kind of a communication, and she trusted this message a little too fast. She took a gamble to trust, but it didn't end well. So she's not really telling you exactly how she died, but she is telling you the circumstance that led to her death. So what would your ancestor consider her primary occupation? And for this, we're using the tree, the birds, and the ways. She's saying the well-being of others, being the mediator between two people, two choices, two ways to go. Always the mediator. So obviously, being an elder, people would come to her and she would settle their disputes in a fair manner. So I do believe she's calling herself a mediator. That was her primary occupation. So why this ancestor? What do you and this ancestor have in common? Why is this ancestor coming forward for you? There must be something. She must have knowledge that will be useful to you. So what do you have in common? And for this, we have the rider, the tree, the ways, and the clover. So she's saying, we're good communicators. We bring people together. We create families, tribes. We mediate when necessary, and very much enjoy the simple things in life. I think much of her energy, she didn't worry about having things. She was very much concerned with the well-being of other people, making sure that families stayed together no matter what the times. She wanted families to stay together. She wanted people to come together. She didn't care for strife. She didn't care for struggle. She didn't care for discord. So thus her mediation, and she feels that you have that ability as well. So is there anything else, ancestor, that you have to share before we move on to the next layout? So we're doing the stork, the whip, the lily, and the star. She's saying things are always changing and evolving, and there is always conflict and drama. But if you remain peaceful and balanced, you'll always be able to hear your guidance, whether that be from her or your spirit team, which she is obviously a part of, but your guides, your angels. Okay, so let us move on to the second layout here. So first we would like to know from your ancestor, what legacy has been handed down to you? So we have the scythe. We have the ring. We have the stars. Now remember, this second layout is gaining an understanding of why you were brought to this reading and why your ancestor, why now, so to speak, why your ancestor is coming forth for you. So she's saying here with these cards is that you reap what you sow. And it's very important that you commit to your destiny, which your destiny is bridging the gap, which means, again, we're going back to the mediator. You are meant to bridge the gap, whether that be between two people, between animals and people, between aliens and people. You're meant to bridge the gap no matter what the gap is that arises. You are a mediator. That is your legacy. So why has your ancestor come to you now? Why have the two of you been brought together at this time? We have the book. We have the fish. We have the moon. She says, you've been seeking information about abundance, as many of us do. You want to have everything that you want. Money, love, friends, recognition, all that kind of stuff. And you've been wondering how you can become recognized in whatever career you choose. Well, as you can see, whatever career you choose is going to have something to do with your destiny, the mediator portion of things. Okay, so not knowing is not going to be the thing anymore. You are gaining knowledge, obviously, about what your career is going to be and how abundant you're going to be in it. And that's going to depend on how committed you are. And again, you reap what you sow. So what you put into it is what you gain back. So what area of your life has your ancestor come to help with? And that may seem like the same question, but this was very broad. So let's try to get it narrowed down a little bit. So we have the clover. We have the bear. And we have the woman. So though you might not have expected it, your ancestor is here to support you and to protect you, and also to be your mentor. She's been where you're going. So it just makes sense that she would come to be your mentor. And this may be something you are starting to experience. Maybe people come to you and you don't even advertise that, hey, I know how to help people. They just come to you naturally. And that is a part of your destiny. So if it's not happening for you at this point, if this is not what's going on for you, it will be soon. This is where things are going. So now it would be nice to know how long your ancestor has been with you. How much of your life. So we're doing the scythe, the book, and the clover. And she says she's been with you since the cord was cut and you started learning and jumping at every opportunity. So you've been filling your knowledge banks. And this could very well be, and when she says that, filling your knowledge banks, every possible opportunity you have to read, to learn something new, you seem to really enjoy that. And that's a part, again, of the destiny portion of things. So she's either saying that she's been with you since birth, when the cord was cut, so to speak, because you begin learning like immediately, and you're a very vivacious learner. You apparently always have enjoyed learning, and you jump at every opportunity to learn. So this may have been from birth, or it could be from the time that you cut the cord with your parents to move out on your own, to learn what your own life will be, to become independent. I'm leaning more towards birth, but the other is possible as well. So what kind of signs will your ancestor give you now that you know about her? What kind of signs will she give you to let you know that she's close, she's in the room, she's with you, she's listening? And for this, we're using the ring the fish, and the bear. She's saying that you'll be having a ringing in your ears, or you might hear a ringing externally, maybe a church bell ringing, maybe somebody else's phone ringing, or you'll feel a need for water, like you need to drink water, or you may feel as though somebody's giving you a gentle bear hug. So it's going to be in hearing, in something physical. So your sense of hearing, something physical, sense of touch, and again, something physical. And you might be wondering, she's giving you indications of how you'll know she's there, but you might like to know how you can communicate with her. So we're using the star, the moon, and the woman. So she's saying here, be very, very clear about what you're seeking. Then recognize what your intuition is telling you. Trust it. And the woman is the sign for intuition, as is the moon in tarot. Another way of saying it is, she's saying ask for guidance, recognize the signs that you're given. So if you ask, show me a sign for this, when your sign comes up, recognize it. Realize that it's your sign. Allow your intuition to say, hey, that's it. That's the sign, because not every sign is a neon flashing light. I also wanted to ask your ancestor, what other responsibilities do they have? And I ask this because sometimes when we're in need of something, we would like an answer right now. And if our spirit team doesn't come forth with the answer immediately for us, or a sign immediately for us, we may feel as though we've lost our connection, or maybe we never had the connection. What we never really think about is that, our spirit team, our ancestors, have other responsibilities besides just us. So I'm asking your ancestor, what other responsibilities does she have? And for this, we're using the scythe, the fish, and the woman. And she's saying that she has cut all ties to be able to develop this very valuable relationship with you. You will both get something very good out of this relationship. And she's not going to be going off to other responsibilities. Her focus is specifically you. And you might like to know, even though she's telling you to use your intuition on, the guidance when you're asking for guidance and getting the guidance, you might want to know for sure, how are you going to know that you've understood your ancestor's message? And for that, we're using the star, the fish, and the clover. And she's saying the guidance is going to be flowing and fun, nothing heavy, and that you're instantly going to get it. And we're going to do quotes there with both hands. You're instantly going to get it. Maybe you'll notice something shining, like stars shine, or flashing, or strobing. Maybe something shaped like a star. Maybe you'll notice something's wet that shouldn't be wet, or something shaped like a fish. Whatever it is, it's going to be short-lived. So it'll happen, and you need to grasp it, just like that. That's how you'll know, because it's going to happen quickly. And in other words, you won't have to wait a long time for whatever signs, whatever messages that you receive. They're going to happen. You're going to notice, and you're going to know that it's right, because something will happen that's very connected after the fact, like what we were just talking about. And the last thing is, does your ancestor have anything to add before we close out this reading? And for this, we're using the ring, the book, the bear, and the moon. And she's saying that she has committed to bringing you knowledge, helping you learn, while she's supporting and protecting you. She wants you to know that you are recognized. So that's it for your reading from your ancestor. Take what resonates with you and disregard the rest. I hope you have found this very helpful, and I'm sending you love and light. Take care. Hello, vessel number 4. Those of you who chose this adorable vessel with the spoon, welcome. We're going to do 2 layouts, one with each of these 9 sets of cards. This is so that we can have a conversation with the ancestor that comes forward. So the first layout with the small cards is going to be a way to get to know a bit about your ancestor. And the second set of 9 cards is to perhaps understand why your ancestor is reaching out, why you were brought into this reading, why you felt like you needed to watch this reading with this specific vessel. So the first thing that I'm going to ask your ancestor is whether they are male or female. And this is because it is easier to know whether they're male or female, so I can say he or she as I'm going through the reading, but also to allow you to start to form the mental image of what your ancestor looks like. Okay? So we have the woman. So that tells you right there, your ancestor is a woman. We have the garden. And we have the fox. So your ancestor is a woman. And with these three cards, she's giving a little extra message here. She's saying that you really should be communing with nature and enjoying a secret life. Maybe you know what that means. Maybe something will come to you if you have no idea what that means, but that's kind of a coded message, I think, from her. So we also would like to know whether she is from your mother or father's side of the family. We have the scythe, which also has a jack, so that's male. We have a tree, and we have a child, which also shows a jack. So I believe it's safe to say she is from your father's side of the family. And again, she has given a little bit of a message here with these 3 cards. She's saying you reap what you sow. And you probably should, harvest your family or ancestral roots with a new sense of wonder and the curiosity of a child. This is the ancestor card, and it's also the roots. So she's saying, when you say, you reap what you sow, but harvest, take full advantage, enjoy the fruits of your ancestral roots, what you're going to learn. And look at it as though you're a child. You're just learning new, and it's wondrous and it's fabulous, and you just can't wait for the next lesson kind of thing. Now I'm asking your ancestor to describe herself to you. So we have the anchor. We have the tower. And we have the book. So she is tall and thin, has kind of an older appearance. She looks intelligent. She wears glasses when she needs them. She's red-haired. She's a very solid individual. Her features are quite sharp. And she has eyes that seem to look right through you. Like she can see into your very soul. So with this description, you can form an image in your mind of what she looks like. And despite the fact that this is a general reading, you're going to know that this is your ancestor, because whoever is watching this reading, general or not, you're going to form your own image. And that image of your ancestor is not going to be like anybody else's, even with the description given. If you were to all sit down in a row and draw this ancestor, none of them would look alike. This is your reading, your ancestor coming through for you. I'm also asking, for the sake of getting to know your ancestor, how would someone else describe her personality? And I'm not asking her to describe her own personality. I'm asking how others would, because we don't always recognize specific things in ourselves, but other people do. So she's saying that she is using the woman, the scythe, and the anchor, that she is very sensitive and caring. She's compassionate. She's humble, thoughtful, attentive, empathetic, intuitive. But she can also, when needed, have a sharp tongue. She can be very analytical and blunt. She is dependable. She is diligent. She's unwavering. She's balanced, steady, resolute. And she puts a lot of emphasis on work. She's a goal-oriented person. And she has to reach her destination. She can't just let something sit and lie. She has to finish. So that gives you some kind of an idea of what type of person that your ancestor is. So I'm asking her now, approximately what time period did your ancestor live? And for that, we are using the garden, the tree, and the tower. She's saying it was a very social time, a time of gathering together and of well-being, despite the fact that there were many restrictions and regulations and authority. People were still enjoying themselves, or at least trying to, coming together and keeping each other well, in fact. There was a large, very big separation between the people on the bottom of the tower and the people on the top of the tower, and even some in the middle. A total difference in separation. But still, and it may very well be too that, people stayed in their own, I guess you could say, social classes, but they took care of each other. And I'm asking your ancestor to please describe where she lived. The fox, the child, and the book are the cards we're using for this. She's saying that sometimes she lived underground and sometimes in tree houses like children. But wherever it was, it had to remain secret. So perhaps this separation was much larger than it appears. Some of them had to stay underground for whatever reasons. They were needing to hide from authority or those at the top of the tower. And I'm asking your ancestor how she passed on. We're using the woman, the tree, and the book. Apparently, she became ill with something that was unknown. She became sick with some kind of sickness that nobody knew what it was, and she passed from that. So now we'll ask your ancestor, what did she feel like her primary occupation was? We're using the fox, the tree, and the anchor. She said she had to be sly and strategic, outfoxing with her wits, not physical prowess, just to stay healthy and to keep her family and other people healthy and safe and stable. So apparently it was her job, or she felt it was her job, to find out what the other side was doing and make sure that they stayed out of harm's way, that they were either living underground or living in the trees, wherever they needed to be to stay safe from whoever was causing them the need to hide. That was what she needed to do. What her occupation apparently was. And, maybe there's really, excuse me, in times like these, maybe there is really no occupation per se. Not like we would know it as an accountant or a, bookstore owner, whatever. Maybe it's just what you're really good at. And if she was stealthy and sly and able to sniff out the danger, so to speak, then that would be, people would look to her for that. And that would come out in her as the times dictated. So now we need to know what you and your ancestor have in common. Why is this particular ancestor coming to you instead of another ancestor? So for this, we're using the woman, the fox, the anchor, and the book. And she's saying, you're a survivor and you have a regular routine that keeps you focused and centered and balanced. And you're interested in esoteric studies and shadow work and journaling. And she's saying you maybe should be, teaching or writing a book. She also is saying something about you enjoy investigations and research projects, maybe in esoteric studies of some sort, as different subjects, paranormal maybe, or anyway, whatever your interests are, she feels as though you should be teaching or you should be writing a book concerning these, or even journaling if you're not quite ready to write a book, even journaling. And these are all things that she herself, things she enjoys, things she likes that regular routine. And she is a survivor, as we all are, actually, from past life to past life. We may pass in one life, but we come back again. We are survivors, all of us. So now I want to know if your ancestor has anything else to share with you before I move on to the second layout of cards. And we're using the garden, the tower, the scythe, and the child. She's saying you might want to form or become a part of a like-minded group and not stay isolated. A place where, there's no hostility and where you can be more playful in your spiritual and your divination practices, your esoteric studies, where you can discuss those kinds of things with like-minded people. And she'll be here too, but it's good to get other opinions on things. And, if you're doing book research, that's a good thing to be a part of, as well as other people can really spark things that you yourself may not think of. So now we'll move on to the next layout so that we can find out, if you remember correctly, what your ancestor is here to do for you, and vice versa. Why the two of you are being brought together right now. So the first question that I want to ask is, what legacy has been handed down to you? And we see the birds, the anchor, and the cross. So she's saying that you really enjoy exciting and stimulating communication. And it's important that you are focused and staying on course where your spiritual beliefs are concerned. It's very important that you are excited to share your spiritual beliefs. And those spiritual beliefs could be what you're writing about. It could be what your life is entailing right now. You're becoming very strong in a certain spiritual way. And this is your legacy. This is what you're supposed to do. This is where you're supposed to be. This is what's been handed down to you, each ancestor having done a piece of this work. So why is your ancestor coming forth to you now, right now? We have the fox, we have the ring, and we have the garden. So she's saying she's here to help you think out of the box while you're making connections socially. And as we were talking about before, other people have ideas. She did share with you, that it's probably important, that's my Chihuahua again, that it's probably important for you to find a like-minded group, bounce ideas off of other people. So she's here to help you kind of weed out the junk, weed out the ideas, and think outside of the box. Think of things that would really appeal to other people. So what area of your life is your ancestor here to help you with? And that may seem like the same kind of question, but this was very general. Let's see if she can give us something that's a little more on point. So we have the snake, we have the book, and we have the whip. So here, she's coming forth to help you think a little bit out of the box, she said, right? While you're making your social connections. And here, she's letting you know that there's a lot of twists and turns to information. And when the knowledge is not well known or somewhat unknown, although eventually it will be known, but when it's unknown, certain kinds of knowledge can bring a lot of conflict and discord. So she's helping you. She's here to help you sort all of that out. So you can bounce things off of her. And she already has the wisdom and knowledge. She's already been where you are. So this is what she is here for. So let's ask her, how long has your ancestor been with you? Is it just now? And for however long that you need to work together, how long has she been with you in this lifetime? And we're using the birds, the fox, and the snake. And she's saying, since the gossip of your arrival, she's being funny, since the gossip of your arrival from the darkness and the beginning of your winding path. So I'm assuming she's meaning since you were born. She has been with you since you were born. And throughout, she is saying that you've had quite the road, the winding road that you've been on, but she's been with you since birth. So what kind of signs will your ancestor give you to let you know that she is with you, that she's in the room, that she's close, that she's listening? We'll use the anchor, the ring, and the book. And she's saying you're going to feel safe and stable, a calmness, or even an aha moment. These are the things that she will offer you: the stability, the calmness, stableness. Like when you have an idea, you're just automatically going to feel very solid about it. Or, aha, yeah, the idea will be like, you have come up with something amazing and you're going to know it. These are the kind of signs she's going to share with you, things that you're going to feel, and which will tell you that she's right there. When you feel these things, she's right there. She's helping you. She might even be putting the idea out there for you to grab. And you might want to know, if you want to communicate with her, what is the best way for you to do that? We use the cross, the garden, and the whip. And she's saying, to do that, stop whatever you're doing, go out in nature. She's encouraging you to chant or dance to get her attention. Maybe that's just for fun. But she wants you to do that over and over and over again. Stop what you're doing, go out into nature. The more routine you have with that, the more communication the two of you can have. I also want to ask her what other responsibilities that she has. Because a lot of times when we are inquiring about something that we want to know from our spirit team or our ancestors, our spirit guides, whoever, if we don't get an answer right away, we start doubting the communication. We start doubting that, we're still connected. So I want to know what other responsibilities she has, and I want you to know, because oftentimes we don't think that maybe they're not coming to us right away because they have other responsibilities. So if you're aware of this, then those kinds of worries about your communication with her won't be there. So for this, we're using the birds, the ring, and the whip. And with those cards, she's saying her communication and her commitment with others, she's given them up right now. She's focusing all her energy and time specifically on the relationship with you to get you moving where you need to go. And you might be wondering how you will know for sure that you have gotten and understood the messages that your ancestor is giving to you. So we're using the cross, the ring, and the snake. And with those cards, she's saying, when you get it, when you understand a message, okay, you're going to, she had already told you that you would feel secure and stable, okay, safe and stable, and that you would feel a calmness and you'd get an aha. Well, she's adding to that and saying that you're going to feel very blessed, and you're going to just know that you're not alone in the room. You're going to feel her presence, whether that be through goosebumps or however you notice things like that. It's not a scary feeling. It won't be a scary feeling. And you may remember how I said that she has a very piercing gaze or piercing eyes, almost as though she can see into your soul. You're going to be able to feel her looking at you. And again, not a scary feeling. You're just going to know. And that's how you'll know that you've understood the message. You might even see her eyes in your mind's eye. If you've gotten, to that point in your intuition or using your third eye, you may see that. Especially if you've created the image of her from her description and that's projected. You may see her looking at you if you have gotten, and she may be nodding yes or maybe nodding no. Nothing is out of the question here. So the last thing is to ask your ancestor if she has anything else to add before we close up on this reading. And for this, we're using the anchor, the fox, the book, and the garden. So she's saying, stay steadfast and strong in your learning. But be sure to socialize and to share what you know. I think she's saying this is important because if it's a group of like-minded people, if you're not sharing, they will not be as forthcoming with you. And you don't have to tell all. Let's say you're writing a book and you don't want it to be totally out there in the open. You might be wanting to get just ideas. And the book card here is literally hidden knowledge that's not known yet. So she's not telling you to give all the information out there, but she is telling you to think out of the box when you're sharing information with other people. Think out of the box. Be a little bit coded. Think out of the box to get the ideas the way that you want to get your ideas, to get people to open up as you need them to. Okay, so that is it for this ancestor reading. I do hope you felt a connection of some sort, and I'm sending love and light. Take care.